Welcome guys, and I know it's that time of the year. Most of you have been approved for your study permit, and those of you who are coming to school in the winter semester have started to come in. So I think it's about time that we look at some of the questions that you will be asked at the airport so that you don't fumble and get yourself sent back, even after going through the stress of applying to schools, getting your study permit approved, buying your ticket, only to get to the airport, fumble and get sent back because you messed up. Before we go any further, kindly remember to hit the subscribe button so that you can join this family as we learn together. And remember to share this video with family and friends who also find value in it so that they can join this family for all of us to learn together. When I shared my journey from Accra to Winnipeg on YouTube, I had a lot of people DMing me and asking me questions of the journey. What kind of questions were asked at the airport, how it felt like, what was the experience and all that. So in this video, I'm going to break it down for you guys so that you can learn and also pick some learnings from it when you get to the airport. First things first, when you get to the Canadian airport, the officers that you'll be meeting, they are called the CBSA officers. CBSA simply means Canadian Border Service Agency. They have the power to accept you into the country. So they can refuse you entry and send you back if the interaction that they have with you, they feel there's something not right. And they even have the right to detain you if they suspect that you committed any fraud during your application process. Remember this, no matter what document that you are holding, be it you are a visitor, a student, a permanent resident, you are being sponsored by your family member, sponsored by your spouse, it doesn't matter who you are. These guys have the right to deny you entry. Obviously, this only happens in most extreme cases, but it does happen more than you think. There are stories of people who have gotten to the airport only to be turned back because something went wrong. And one funny story that I heard was somebody who got to the airport only to be turned back because they went through his phone and found something that they felt was not right. And as a result, this person was denied entry because it contradicted every single thing that he told them he was coming to Canada to do. So even though if you receive your visa and all that, you are not in Canada yet. So make sure you treat your interaction with these guys with the agency that is required. So how do you interact with these guys when you get to the Canadian border? I'm going to give you a few pointers that at least you can apply when you get there so that you don't just mess up, because communication can sometimes go wrong. All it takes is just for you to utter one phrase, then it just triggers an avalanche of lies that maybe you have told in your application, or just open up a window into something that you didn't want them to know. First thing, if your English or your French is not good, make sure you request for a translator before you even start interacting with them, because you cannot halfway through your interaction with them now backtrack and say, I didn't understand what you were saying. That is why I answered these questions wrongly. So if you feel that your English or your French is not good enough to at least speak to these guys, when you get there, simply ask for a translator who now translates whatever you are saying into English or French for them to understand, because you cannot give not understanding what they said as an excuse if you answer something wrongly. Secondly, only answer what they ask you. Do not provide any other information or start telling stories. Some of us, when we get there, that's when we start telling our life stories. Trust me, that is not the time for it, because all it takes is for you to utter one phrase, then it opens up a whole lot of lies that maybe you were trying to stay away from, or maybe a part of your life that you didn't want to even open it up to them. So my advice is either yes, no, or answer the specific question and nothing more, nothing less. Thirdly, the information that you provide to them should match the information on your documents that you submitted during your visa application process, or the information that you have on their record from past your experiences with the Canadian immigration system, and sometimes even records that you have submitted to the US Embassy, because they share information. So if they ask you questions like, when was the last time you entered, exited, or even refused visa at the US border, your response are supposed to be facts that match the records that they have in their system. Fourthly, do not go arguing with them. Just be nice and be passive That's all you have to do. Answer your yes, your no's, give factual answers, and that's the end of it. That is not the time for you to be arguing if they say something that they have on record, but you feel is contrary to what you have. Arguments should be out. Last but not the least, cooperate fully and don't hesitate when you are responding to questions that they ask you, because these guys are trained to recognize trends of lies, or even they can read your body language. So when you are answering questions, do not hesitate. I even advise you practice some of these questions before you get there. And to help you practice, let's go over some of the potential questions that they may ask you if you land at the Canadian border as an international student who is coming to Canada to study. And this is not to scare you, but some students have been sent back because they could not answer some of these questions correctly, or maybe they said something that was contrary to the information that they have provided. So it is important to be prepared so that you don't mess up after going through all of them. If you got value out of this video, kindly hit the subscribe button, and don't forget to share with family and friends who might be traveling to Canada soon. And please remember to subscribe and join this family. Please let me know in the comment section what you learned, or any other question that possibly you were asked when you entered the country. Thank you, and catch you in the next video. Cheers.